Welcome to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we talk all things Panther City Lacrosse Club. Now here are your hosts, Nicholas and Andy.
Welcome back, everybody, to Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we are ready to talk about the New Year's Eve game, Panther City Lacrosse versus Saskatchewan. Once again, I am Nicholas, welcomed by Andy.
Hello, hello.
And all eyes will be on lacrosse for New Year's Eve this year as we get ready to go into the new year. And we are going to be, it's unfortunately not a home game. We'll be away. As we talked about before, we won't see Panther City for another month and a half almost.
Right.
But so this will start their first road game on this long stretch. And it's against Saskatchewan. And where do we even begin to talk about Saskatchewan? In the offseason, people kind of thought, okay, well, they're still kind of rebuilding. They're going to be, an okay team, but not very high expectations on them. And then their first game of the season, boom, we're going against the defending NLL champ, Colorado Mammoth. And what do? Well, we blow them out of the water. And it wasn't even close. Like that game, I know we kind of mentioned it before when we were doing the preview for Panther City against Colorado. But man, Saskatchewan didn't even let Colorado get into that game at all.
Yeah, I think they ended up doubling them up, right? Like 16-8, something along those lines.
Yeah, and it wasn't even close too. Like they got off to a hot start and just didn't let up. You see that fight in that team because they're just like we're gonna keep going even if we're ahead, by 6 or 8 points.
Right.
But yeah, right off the bat, first game of the season, knock off the defending champs, and then their second game was against San Diego, who many think they did a lot of off-season transactions. San Diego did, and kind of put their chips into this season, saying, "Hey, we're going kind of all in, and we really think we're ready for a championship." And a lot of people do have them making the finals this year. And what does Saskatchewan do? They showed up in that game, and it was against San Diego, and they had to go into overtime, and they lost. But they lost in overtime against a team that's expected in the finals. So it just goes to show you, don't write off a team until you actually see what they do. Like we hope for Panther City this year. High hopes, even though people don't expect a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, this game against Saskatchewan, I think, is going to be a real trendsetter for all these road games coming up. Just because I think it's going to go either one way or the other, saying, hey, Panther City, we really need to get off to a hot start, keep the good things going, or we're going to start hitting walls. And this is, in my mind, this is going to be a hard team to fight against if we're going to hit the walls and run into the same problems that we've had in the first few games. Especially, again, we'll talk about, face-offs. I think if you let Saskatchewan control the game, it's going to be very hard for Panther City to get back into it.
Mm-hmm. And I think in both of Saskatchewan's games so far, they have won the face-offs, over 50% of them in each. So, yeah, they lost the last game, but it was in overtime, so there are still plenty of things for them to take away positively. Probably not so much for us against Colorado. So my hope is that we're going to be a little bit hungrier for a win than they will. Of course, them losing that close in overtime, I'm sure that motivation will carry over too. Everyone does have the holiday week off, so that's kind of a negligible effect. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens.
Well, and it's almost at the right time for us, especially for Panther City, to have this, short break, just because, again, coming off a weekend where you have 2 games in a row, you're tired, you're kind of worn out. It gives you that opportunity to just kind of come back down to earth, come back down to reality, say, okay, hey, these are the positives, but these are the negatives that we need to work on. Yeah, and so with a game being, obviously a lot of eyes on a New Year's Eve game, it'll be kind of interesting to see where they go from there. Obviously, faceoffs are going to be a big thing. Also, defense. I mean, is our defense going to be the defense that we've seen in the first 2 games? even the the first few quarters of the third game, or is it going to be a thing where their offense? I mean, obviously we've seen what their offense can do against other defenses, but is it going to be a thing where even though our defense is there and ready to play, is it going to be too much offense from them?
Yeah, I'm honestly, yeah, it's going to be tricky in this coming one. I feel like they're going to need to get at least one full game under their belt, unless Tyler Burton's a superhuman and recovers really fast. I'm assuming he's going to be out for this New Year's game, and so you kind of wonder who's going to fill that void of that big body who can really disrupt an offense.
Right, and so the loss of him, we'll have to kind of keep an eye. I noticed that you actually asked the what was it, the Facebook page, if there was any update on on his injury.
Yeah, yeah, they might have said so in the during the TV commentary of Saturday's game. I haven't finished watching that replay yet, so I'm not completely sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
Well,
curious for
and
sure.
this is a good opportunity again for we talked about in the past about players kind of stepping up and filling that position. I mean, this is a good chance for Hosek to just kind of say, okay, well, if Burton's out, here's my chance to kind of show, okay, maybe I can fight for that position. So
Hmm.
I'm also interested to see if for this game against Saskatchewan, are the rookies going to be back? Are we going to see a little bit more playing time? Not only for Donville, I think Donville is pretty much going to get more playing time as the season goes on.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say even in that first game, you could tell he was part of the power play rotation and got in during regular 5-on-5 as well.
Yeah, so he's obviously going to get some minutes, but even Gaucher, I mean, uh, I think he really kind of proved himself against Colorado. He
Hmm.
kind of showed, hey, I can hang in this league. I can, even though I'm a rookie, even though box lacrosse is still new to me, I can definitely show up there. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they kind of go with this game.
Hmm.
And obviously with young people in there, uh, Damude's. I feel like Damude's going to show up after being rested and getting that time off. I think he's gonna get in the right mindset and pick up kind of where he left off with Las Vegas, and especially with that game against Las Vegas where he pretty much shut him out pretty much. And so
Right.
I hope for good games from him. As far as expectations, as far as this game goes, I don't even know where to even start. We got we talked about our expectations for the last two games, and we were kind of on a few things, and then we were kind of off on a few things. Like, I had guessed that Panther City would eventually pull away in Las Vegas, and they eventually did. There just wasn't a whole lot of offense with it. And then of course we both mentioned, like, depending on how that game goes, will set the tone for the Colorado Mammoth game,
Hmm.
and it kind of did to a point, because it was almost like we did so good in Las Vegas, and then everything caught up to us against Colorado. So this one, it's kind of weird because we will have that break. We are coming off of a loss against Colorado, so we'll kind of be in that mindset of we kept it close. We had some good things happen. Where are we in the standings right now? Where are we in the whole big picture of the NLL? So I think honestly, this was one of the games I had, especially after that first game, that first weekend where Saskatchewan blew out Colorado. I think this was actually one of the games I had as a loss, and I'm not proud of it, but I did eventually have six losses for Panther City this year, and this is one of them. I could feel like it could happen. I mean, Saskatchewan, New Year's Eve, a big game for them at home. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Well, I mean, what do you think about what might happen?
I'd say it also similar to the Colorado game, just being on the back to back. I think there are probably going to be a few too many things working against us. I know we brought up Tyler Burton before. I know he was one of our big off-season acquisitions to improve on defense. With him being out there, that defense is gonna need some time to rebuild its chemistry and fill in that void. But I do like how Donville and Gaucher have been playing. As I understand it, Saskatchewan is Saskatchewan considered kind of a more veteran team, or are they
I
also kind
mean,
of? You mentioned rebuilding.
yeah, they're. It's just because they didn't really have uh, a whole lot of off-season acquisitions. They weren't really. They were kind of in the mix of things, but they were, I believe, they were last in standings below us last year.
Oh wow, okay,
So not a ton of high expectations going into this year. And again, everybody's kind of all in on or San Diego as the team the team to beat. So
gotcha.
I think they just kind of wrote them off and said, hey, we'll probably expect the same thing from last year. But no, they're proving people wrong, and
Okay.
they're they're obviously not like the oldest team the team in the NLL,
Hmm.
but I feel like this is more of a rebuilding year or was supposed to be a rebuilding year for them, just because they don't have all the pieces yet. They don't have all the pieces, or people think they don't have all the pieces yet. But
Hmm.
it goes to show
Okay.
you any team on any given day can show up and play hard.
Okay. Well, putting all that into context and thinking about what these first two games have represented for them, I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say I think Panther City will win a close one.
You
We
think Panther City will come out with a win?
we saw Saskatchewan win their season opener against the defending champs.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say that was fluky necessarily, but they are a bit of a chameleon team considering, yeah, they had a big lead up on San Diego, and I think it was 10-4 going into the fourth, and then they just blew it and let San Diego score 8 straight goals to let them get back into it. They were
Yeah.
able to force overtime, but then ended up losing there. So I think it's still hard to judge where Saskatchewan is right now. Whereas with us, I know Panther City can win close games, and I know they can blow teams out. Yes, it's Al. I don't want to toss out the Colorado game per se, but knowing that that was a back to back, I do think the loss was a bit more. You could see it potentially coming, even with it being at home, just given the layover and short turnaround time.
Kind of has like an asterisk beside it, like, hey, this game happened and we lost, but it's
Hmm.
there's other factors to
Yeah,
take into
yeah, yeah,
consideration.
yeah, absolutely. And not to make excuses or anything, but just based on the sample sizes, I think ours is a bit bigger. We obviously still need to work on our face-offs. I don't anticipate that that's going to improve much against Saskatchewan, especially with our main face-off guy on the IR. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with our team and
Okay.
say they'll eke out a close one.
Okay. Well, as far as well, here, obviously you're going to go with them as a win. I'm going to go with them as a loss. If you were to guess a score, what would be your guess?
15-14.
15-14. You know, I am not sure about our scoring offense right now.
That's completely
Nine
fair.
9 points against Colorado, 9 points against Las Vegas. I
It's so hard to predict because I would think, oh well, our strength is our defense, but then we just lost the defensive starter,
yeah,
so it's kind of
yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. And obviously, again, we've talked about just Malcolm and Grinnan and Caputo and Dodds. I mean, they're just all good. You know, they're all good players that can score at any moment. I'm gonna go 10-8, Saskatchewan.
okay.
I'm gonna say our defense shows up and keeps it close. I really feel like that's gonna be our forte for this year, where our defense is really good and it keeps the games close. And some of the games we pull away at the end, and other games we don't. And
That's
I think
fair.
it's going to be very hard for us to pull away in a hot crowd in Saskatchewan on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's almost like a big picture view of things because I imagine, oh, Gaucher and Donville, they're young pups now, but just give them a season or two, and then we're going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, and again, as the season goes on, the more experience they get, it's always good for the whole team. But
Right.
well, obviously, with this game on New Year's Eve and leading us into 2023, What would you? So we'll talk about. Obviously, we everybody has their own New Year's resolutions. What would you say is Panther City's New Year's resolution, either as a team or an individual player from Panther City for this upcoming year?
Consistency would be key. As far as specifics go, obviously, face-offs has been a big problem all 3 games, even though we won 2 of them. If we could get on the better side of those and actually start putting pressure on the defense and put up some transition points, that'd be great. Um, Individual players wise, Damude, like to see him be more consistent. Like to see him. Not that you're not going to expect a goalie to save 9 out of 10 shots every single game, but it doesn't hurt to try.
Right, right. And he has the I mean, he's got the tools to do it. We've seen him pretty much shut out teams, and do what he needed to do to keep, keep Panther City ahead in games. Yes, consistency, I would say for sure. I would say for a New Year's resolution, more rookies. I mean, more game time for the rookies, more experience for them, because I feel like the more they get the hang of things, the better they'll be down the stretch, especially towards the end of the year when, hopefully we're in that position where we're pushing for the playoffs. And,
Hmm.
if you have obviously your big star players, Malcolm, Grinnan, Caputo, Dodds, like I mentioned before, if you have them playing good, but then you also have these rookies coming in as this, big supporting cast, it, that's what you ask for in a team. That's
Hmm.
the complete package that you ask for. And then of course, yeah, I mean defense. You want the defense to keep going strong as they have been. The game against Colorado, yes, I will say you could probably throw that out. But even then, highlights. I mean, our defense did play strong for most of the game. It kept it close. It didn't allow like this huge runaway where they're ahead by like 6 or 7 points. They try to
Hmm.
keep it as close as possible for it. So, but yeah, for me, definitely New Year's. I want to see those rookies get that playing time in there.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing well with what they've gotten so far. So just building on that would be great.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's the first game that starts all of their away games leading into all through January and into February. We'll definitely see what happens. I think it's definitely going to be a tone setter for their away games. Hopefully, they can kind of again, we talked about it at the beginning of the year, talking about just kind of an overall schedule. I think if we can come away on the plus side out of these 5 games, it'll be good for the team. It'll be good for the record, and we'll be in the thick of things. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But hey, it's the end of 2022. We're on the verge of end of 2022. So if we can get a win, I mean, again, I don't expect a win, but if we get a win, I mean that puts us what 3-1 going into a new year. Anything's possible.
Yeah, it almost makes me want to revise my season predict record prediction
Right, right.
from our first episode.
Your 500 record might be a little bit off
Yeah.
looking into
Well,
the new
that's
year.
okay. So set the bar, keep expectations tempered, and so
Hey,
when they outdo them, then it's a pleasant
right?
surprise for everyone.
Always a plus, but awesome. Well, man, I mean, obviously, we're looking forward to the new year. We're looking forward to Panther City in the new year. Any parting words for 2022 that you want to talk about for Panther City, or just for us in general?
First off, thank you for approaching me to start Cowtown Cats when you did, and
Yeah,
thank you for anyone listening out there who's joining us. We're still obviously working out the kinks of our own how we
right.
want to
Yeah.
talk about games and whatnot. But yeah, if you ever if we ever do an event, I know we've got, like you said, at least a month and a half until the next home game. We might try to set up something to
Hmm.
where we watch the games, hopefully somewhere locally or somewhere where we can kind of do a group setting.
Yeah.
We'll kind of see how things play out.
For sure, and yeah, definitely we'll try to get the word out there to whoever we can, and try to get a place, especially in Fort Worth area, where we can get some of the fans out there and watch maybe a couple of the away games. But yeah, for me, I mean, 2022. I mean, it was an unforgettable year, just being in the thick of the things at the beginning of the year with Panther City,
Right.
like trying to make a
Yeah.
playoff push, and then starting this, it's been great, and I'm thankful for everybody listening, and I'm thankful for you helping out. I really appreciate it. But yeah, here's to 2023. Hopefully we're 3-1 and on riding high into the new year. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, thank you guys once again for listening. This is the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse podcast, where we do talk all things Panther City Lacrosse Club. Thank you again for the new year. I am once again Nicholas.
And I am once again Andy.
And Happy New Year, everybody. We will see you. This is going to be an extremely bad dad joke, but we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
Take care, guys, and we'll see you then.
Have a great 2022.